This week we have a very special episode, episode 300. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite episodes over the last 300 that we've done, my favorite episodes ever, and I'll share why. I'm going to share with you our top 5 most listened to episodes ever. My favorites and your favorites are different. Some of them are the same, but the top 5 may interest you. And then I'm going to share what I've learned over the last, almost 6 years, the last, 5 3/4 years. Doing 300 episodes of a podcast, I've learned a lot. So I'm going to share all these with you right now. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 300 of the Massive Agent Podcast. I am your host, Dustin Brohm, here in Salt Lake City. If you are new to the show, welcome. You just happen to be starting off on a very special episode, the big 300. We've launched this podcast on January 18th of, was it January 18th? January 2018. I'm stumbling through this shit. January 2018, we launched it. And maybe the first episode was January 18th of 2018. But regardless, January 2018, we launched it. I came up with the concept for it while walking my dog on New Year's Day. So January 1st, 2018. I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn, which is about online marketing, entrepreneurship, affiliate marketing. Like if you're a real marketer and an entrepreneur, it's nerdy shit. So I loved it. And he was talking about what his podcast has done for his business, and he was explaining, Pat Flynn was explaining the difference or the power of podcasting versus a YouTube video or a social media post. And something about it it made me realize I would be stupid to not start my podcast right now. You guys that have been listening for a minute, you know that I've, for years, considered myself a marketer who sells home, a marketer with a real estate license. And as a marketer, I want to do all the things, right? I have the ideas that I want to do everything. So a podcast was one of those things that I, as a marketer, wanted to do, but I just kept putting it, pushing it down the list. You guys know how that is. You're like, oh, I'm going to do that thing, but I'll do it next week. And then next week comes, yeah, I'm going to do that thing. But not today. I'll do it next week. And pretty soon years go by and you've never done the shit. But I'm listening to that podcast episode, Smart Passive Income. And he was describing how even the best social media posts, like viral posts, after a few days, they'll die. Like they just trail off and they just disappear, right? Most of your social posts, the ones that are not viral, after a few hours, they just start to fizzle out and die. Then YouTube videos, if you have a YouTube video with, 5 to 7 minutes of watch time on average, you're killing it. Like that's a great average watch time for a YouTube video, depending on how long it is, of course. But for the average YouTube video, that's great. But with podcasts, this is what got me. Pat Flynn said that on average, every single week, his listeners would listen for 45 minutes every single episode. And when he described that, I'm like, oh my God, if I really want to make an impact on this industry, if I really want to reach and help agents, if I'm serious about that, and I'm not just full of shit, if I'm serious, I need to do a podcast. So I decided right then and there while walking my dog on New Year's Day night that I was going to go back to my basement office, record the first episode, and then I'm like, okay, what do I call this thing? So I thought, I don't know why, but I thought, okay, what's bigger than mega agent? The term mega agent came to mind. And so I'm like, what's bigger than that? And I thought massive agent. And I remember vividly, the exact corner I was on, the exact corner of Athleen and Prima Donna, actually, where when I said massive agent in my head, I started to freaking giggle. I started to laugh out loud because I thought it was so stupid. But then a nanosecond later, I was like, that's it. I'm just going to, as dumb as that sounds, I'm going to make it mean something. I'm going to make that my brand. Massive agent, bam. And that was it. I didn't even think twice about it. And I went back and I started recording the show. Over the last 300 episodes, you guys that have been listening for a while, you know that the show has changed. Right? When I started it, I just wanted to tell agents about different things they could do to get leads, different options they have. Like, do you want to blog? Do you want to do this? Do you want social media and blah, blah, all the stuff, right? But pretty soon you run out of how to. You run out of like, here's all the things. And I was also growing as a person. And so as I've evolved as a human, as I've evolved as a business person, as I've evolved as a husband, as a father, as an agent, and I just started to share what I was currently going through. And that's why today, we talk marketing a lot because that's at my core, but we talk just as much about building a business, how important it is that you can have the choice to sell homes. Not every agent wants to just keep selling homes until they die. When was the last time you were invited to a realtor's retirement party, right? It's called a funeral. We don't have retirement parties because agents rarely build a business. And it's because our brokers aren't teaching us. Our brokerages aren't providing the trainings to show us. Nobody's teaching agents how to stop selling homes. But yet we all want it. And so, that's been my progression, and that's what I'm really passionate about today, and it's resonating. My team has been growing dramatically because you guys are linking arms. You entrepreneurs who are entrepreneurs with real estate licenses, I'm finding some amazing agents that I'm able to work with and start expanding your business in your market together. So if that appeals to you, reach out. Link in my Instagram bio if you want to talk about what that looks like. But because I've shifted, I've been able to find the right people for me. It's really cool. And I know a lot of you guys feel the same who are now business partners of mine, that had I just kept talking about marketing tactics and strategies, it would have, at some point you would have stopped listening. So I've learned it's important to share what's going on with you, share your journey, share what's important to you at the time. Because if not, you could just, if I was still talking about just marketing stuff, if you've been listening for a while, at some point you just would have gotten bored with it. You wouldn't have needed it anymore. And so, I'm just keeping it fresh because this is my evolution as a human and as I don't know what else to do. Just share what's important to me, share what I've learned, share what I'm doing, share what's working for me and what isn't. So long story short, I appreciate the hell out of you guys for listening to the show. Everyone who's ever listened, anyone who's ever shared an episode with somebody else, if you've ever left us a review on Apple, left us a review on Spotify, anytime you've just mentioned, hey, I listened to The Massive Agent and someone else heard it, thank you, because you've helped us reach so many agents in this industry in a way that I never thought was possible, to be quite honest. It's absolutely crazy, which is, that's a cop-out word, actually. It's heavy. It's man, trying to find a word to describe what's happened over the last 5.5 years is hard. It's heavy. And I feel a deep responsibility to you and to this industry and to entrepreneurial agents like us, especially those that know that they want a thing and no one in their life is willing to show them how to get the thing. First off, that pisses me off. And second of all, I know that it doesn't have to be that way. And so I feel a responsibility to you. If that's you, I take that seriously. And this is why for 5.5 years, almost 6 years, every single fucking Thursday, every single Thursday morning, there's a new episode. I've dropped a new episode when I don't feel like it. I've recorded episodes when I had no freaking clue what to talk about. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. What's crazy, something else I've learned along the way, is it's usually the episodes that I am the most self-conscious about, or that I think I just fucked up and that's not interesting, or I should just delete that and start over. It's the episodes that I want to delete and start over. I've learned to publish it anyways, because for some reason, those are the episodes that really reach the right people. Those are the episodes that you needed to hear. Those are the episodes that make the biggest impact. Those are the episodes that I get the most feedback from. It's crazy. The episodes that I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a grand slam. Everyone's going to like this. This episode's going to go viral. They don't. Just like videos, just like social media, right? It's the post that you took 3 minutes to do and you're just like, whatever. You click publish and pretty soon, oh my God, people are watching. Oh my God, people are sharing. But then the one that you spent hours and hours and hours planning and scripting and doing all the stuff for, you're like, this one's going to go viral, and it doesn't. It's weird how that works. Crazy. I have a lot of people to be grateful for getting this far, because if it wasn't for you reaching out, giving feedback, asking questions, providing support, just, letting it known that this podcast means something to you, it would have been very easy for me to quit. I don't think I would have, but I also am saying that from a place where I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys over the years. So I appreciate that. Imagine if for 5.5 years, if I just kept doing this podcast and literally no one ever said anything to me, I didn't hear any feedback at all, where all I saw was like the numbers going up, like the analytics of who's listening, but I never actually talked to any of you, I don't know if I could have kept going for 300 straight episodes. So thank you. I do this podcast for you. Yes, it's for me and it's great for my business and all of that stuff, but it's more than that. And it's just crazy. Speaking of people that I need to thank, there's some partners that have been great partners of this podcast that have helped us with resources, helped us to get the word out, helped us financially, to pay for editing and, the overhead of the podcast and all that stuff. FollowUp Boss, incredible partner, incredible CRM, the best in the industry. Huge fan of FollowUp Boss. And I got to give a shout out to Keeping Current Matters. KCM is incredible. You guys can get a free trial of Keeping Current Matters. Try kcm.com/BAM. They are such an incredible tool for agents that basically the KCM team, they just do all the research into the economics and interest rates and the housing market and what's going to happen and what it all means if you're a buyer, what it all means if you plan on buying a rental property, what it means if you plan on selling your house. And they just distill it all down and help you as an agent understand what it all means, but also how to communicate that to your clients, how to communicate that to the public, to consumers through social media. KCM is an incredible tool. I don't know how you can call yourself a real estate advisor and not use Keeping Current Matters regularly. So go to trykcm.com/BAM and try them out. Also, BAMx, another amazing resource, another amazing community for agents. Similar to the way I feel with this podcast, if I felt alone through the 5.5 years of doing the show, it would have been very easy to quit. Very, very easy. Maybe I would have. But when there's others and you feel like you're doing it with them and you have people you can bounce ideas off of and I've found mentors that are further ahead than me in podcasting that have bigger shows, bigger audiences, right? I can look to what they're doing and I can kind of model that. Everything that has improved about this podcast has come from me seeing what others have done. Like, I don't think I've done anything purely original except for like my thoughts and my opinions, but like the format of the show and all of that, I think I just took inspiration from other great podcasts and other people that were doing well and we're further ahead. I mean, that's the whole path anyways. That's it. So BAMx is an incredible community that the Broke Agent Media team, which they're not even called that anymore. I should probably stop saying that. It's just BAM. BAMx is an incredible community. For as little as $10 a month, you could be part of the community, have access to all their online courses, online trainings, the best Instagram training I've ever seen. Eric Simon, the Broke Agent, put it together. And if you're a BAMx member, you get access to that, plus like dozens of other amazing online courses for as little as $10 a month. So go to massiveagentpodcast.com/BAMx. Make sure you use code MASSIVE at checkout to get the discount. But every agent I talk to that uses BAMx loves it. And they don't tell BAM this, but they would pay more for it. They're like, it's an incredible deal. It's a steal. So I'm not going to tell BAM, but take advantage of the deal they give you. Use code MASSIVE at checkout for BAMx. Let me go to my notes here so we can keep this as concise as possible today for this momentous occasion. We have another momentous occasion coming later this year. We're on track Only if you guys share the frickin' episode and help us to reach agents who don't already listen, help us to reach a new audience. Most agents have no idea what the show is. Most agents, like the vast majority, have never heard of the Massive Agent Podcast, have no idea who I am, have never heard of the brand. They have no idea. So don't just assume everyone listens to the show. If they did, that'd be fucking amazing. But they don't. But with you guys, we're on track for 1 million downloads by the end of 2023. So here within the next few months, we should be hitting 1 million downloads. We're at like 930,000 downloads right now and on track for 1 million. That's wild and crazy. So I'm going to put that on you. Please share the episode and tell people about it. And, I mean, if you want to take out ads and billboards to promote the show, that's freaking awesome too. I don't mind that. Especially those blip billboards, those electronic ones. Have you seen those? Those are so cheap. Like, people get to see your billboard for 7 seconds at a time, and it's cheap. I mean, maybe it costs you 25 cents to have a billboard on the interstate for that 7 seconds. Like, it's unbelievable. Blip is what it's called, and I don't think it's everywhere. I know they have it here in Salt Lake, I think Boise, I think Phoenix, but those electronic billboards, if it's not Blip in your area, it's something else. Look into it. Anyways, so what I'm going to share with you real quick is the top 5 most listened to episodes of all time. So of all 300 episodes, these are the most popular, and I'm going to start with number 1. No, I'm going to start with number 5. Yeah, let's do that. What kind of a marketer would I be if I didn't provide some suspense and give you a reason to listen to the end of the list, right? If I just give you number 1, then you're just going to, I got to start with number 5. So the number 5 most listened to episode of all time, it's called Selling Over 2,100 Homes in 1 Year with Veronica Figueroa. This is episode 218. I love this episode because Veronica is one of the most incredible business owner agents in the industry. Her mindset is absolutely on fire. The amount of crap that she's had to overcome to get to where she's at is unbelievable. She is just a pit bull. She's a doer, and her team is now selling, 2,200 homes a year, something like that. Incredible. Her team is the number 1 team at eXp Realty, and that's international, by the way. Incredible. So that's episode 218. Episode 227, this is our 4th most listened to episode, called Getting All Your Business from Social Media with Shannon Gillette. So Shannon Gillette out of Phoenix, Arizona, Queen Creek, to be very specific. Shannon, you're the 4th most listened to episode of all time, episode 227. She shares how she gets all of her business from social. She's big into video. She invests into video, and she shares exactly how she does that. The 3rd most listened to of all time, this is cool. My buddy Brian's going to love this. How to Crush It from Day One as a Realtor with Brian Garside. Brian is an agent on my team. He's someone that I actually, he came to me as a brand new agent. He's up in Edmonton, Canada, and he shares in episode 250 how he hit the ground running as a brand new agent and started to sell homes within the first month or 2. He shares exactly how he did it and what he's doing, and I know he's still doing the same stuff today. So Brian Garside, nice job, man. Top 3 episode of all time. The 2nd most listened to episode of all time, Paige is going to love this too. Episode 217, Instagram Reels 101 for Realtors with Paige Steckling. You all know Utah Real Estate Paige from Instagram and TikTok. Well, she has the number 2 most listened to episode of all time. The number 1, the most listened to interview episode ever. So that's episode 217, where she shares how within like months, she went viral with Instagram Reels, how it exploded her real estate business. And today, I think she now has a team of 4 or 5 agents, all because she knocked Instagram Reels out of the park and then kept doing it over and over and over. So in that episode, she shares the blueprint for that. And she lives here locally in Utah, and Paige has become a friend, which is awesome. The number 1 most listened to episode ever, episode 210, 5 Things Realtors Must Do to Survive in 2022. So there's something happening in 2022, COVID in late 2021, that you guys ate that one up. That one is like far and away the number 1 most listened to episode. 5 Things Realtors Must Do to Survive in 2022. The 2023 version did pretty well too, but it didn't make the top 5. Now I'm going to share with you my top 5 favorite. And these are not in any particular order. I was just thinking, like, of all the episodes that we've done out of 300, which ones stick out to me? And that's hard when I put myself on the spot. You know, when if someone like is looking at you and they're like, okay, on the spot, no pressure, which means there's plenty of pressure, no pressure. Name 5 athletes. You're like Michael Jordan, and then you freeze. You can't think of any more because you're put on the spot. Like, name 5 songs, name 5 anything. You're like, I don't fucking know. So that's kind of how I felt. But I thought about it for a day or two, and I came up with these 5 episodes that I thought they were very memorable to me. I remember them being very well received by you guys as well. There's been many, many, many more, but these are the 5 that stuck out as my top 5. So again, not in any particular order, but one of my top 5. Episode 212, Facebook ads changed again. Now what? With Grant Wise. This is from January 13th of 2022. So go back to January 2022, episode 212. What's so awesome about that episode with Grant is he shares exactly like why Facebook ads are so complicated, but also what makes them so simple and so powerful. And he laid out a great roadmap for exactly what agents should be doing with Facebook ads. Even though that episode was, over a year and a half ago, I still remember that episode just being super impactful and awesome. So that's one. Another one, how agents can build a rental portfolio this year with Cody Sperber with Clever Investor. This is from July 1st of this year. Like, this is just a few months ago. That's episode 284. Cody shares exactly what agents need to know about creative financing, seller financing, subject to financing, all these different ways that agents could start to build a rental portfolio and creative financing. But then the last 20 minutes or so, he just got laser focused and got very, very vulnerable. If you follow Clever Investor on social media, he's been through some personal stuff. He's been through a divorce, but through all of that, he's learned so many lessons, and he got very real and very honest and very vulnerable in the last 20 minutes of that episode. And I'll never forget that. That is an episode that I think everyone needs to hear. If you haven't heard it yet, go back to episode 284 with Cody Sperber. Next one, episode 268, the missing piece for most agents with Dustin Runyon. This episode was awesome to me because we just talked about mindset. We talked about the importance of doing the deep work, working on the beliefs between your ears. It's not just all tactics and information. If information and tactics was all you needed, librarians would be billionaires, right? They have access to all this information, right? The best Googler, the person that's watched the most YouTube videos, those would be the billionaires. But it's the doers that build something massive. And those that do are not necessarily those that know all the stuff. They're just the most confident. Maybe they're not even confident, but they do anyways. It's all about what's between your ears. So the missing piece for most agents with Dustin Runyon is all about how to improve your mindset, exercises you can do to improve it so that you can start to build the belief that you actually deserve the results that you're striving for, and to get really freaking clear on what that is in the first place. I love that episode 268 from February 9th of 2023. The next one, Educate to Dominate with Arjun Dhingra. Neil Dhingra's older brother, and an incredible mortgage marketer, incredible business person on his own. That's episode 259 from December of 2022. Arjun shares how he uses Instagram, how he uses social media to sell or to do a bunch of loans, right? He's a loan officer. So basically selling houses, but he just does the financing for them, right? You guys realize that loan officers and agents, we have the same customer, right? You do realize that, right? We just provide different services to that customer. Very similar. A lot of loan officers forget that. They think that they have to talk about their product all the time, but they don't realize nobody wants a fucking mortgage. They want a house, or they want the income that comes from a rental property, or they want a better neighborhood. They want to upgrade. That's what they want. They don't want a fucking mortgage. Nobody wants a mortgage. Arjun gets that. And he shares how he educates people through his social media, which leads to so many sales being done. Love that episode, 259 from December of 2022. And the last of my top 5, this was a solo episode I did in January of this year. Episode 264, should you sell fewer homes on purpose? What I loved about this episode is this is one of the first times that I really started to share my belief that agents should start moving towards the ability to not have to sell homes anymore. And I started to push back on this this thought, this notion, this obsession that our industry has with selling homes and production and units. Well, I sold 100 homes this year. Oh yeah, well I sold 110. Fuck. Great. But then you missed your kids growing up. You're miserable. You got divorced because of it. You made a fuckload of money. Awesome. But you got burned out. Now you're fat and you have health issues and your kids hate you. Is that really success? It is not. By the way, spoiler alert, that is not success. So that episode, I remember starting to push back on this thought, this obsession that our industry has with just sales, because how many homes you sell is an incomplete metric. It's important and it's part of the equation, yes, but it's not the only part. It's not the only thing that matters. If you can make $1 million this year but only sell 5 houses, wouldn't you rather do that versus selling 100 homes? Look, I know that's not really, I get it, right? That doesn't really work, but you get my point. Would you rather sell more homes to make $1 million or fewer homes to make $1 million? 99 out of 100 of you will say, I'd rather sell fewer homes to make the same amount of money. Of course, less work. No shit. So that means it's not just about how many homes you sell or your production or whatever. These are goals that our industry has created for us. These are goals that your broker has for you. It doesn't mean that you don't also have those goals, but hopefully you have other goals. Like how can you, for me, it's not about how many homes I sell. It's none of that. It's how much do I make and what does my lifestyle look like? How much time freedom do I have while I'm making that money? That's what matters. If I want to take my kid to the Pokemon card store, I want to do that when I want to do that and not, sorry, son, I got to go show houses tonight. Maybe tomorrow. No, I've done that. I've played that and I learned you don't have to play that game. If you've been listening to the episode this year, you know that this is what I'm really passionate about helping agents understand. I'm looking for entrepreneurial agents with real estate licenses. That's who I'm looking to partner with. That's who I'm looking to become business partners with. That's who I'm really speaking to. So episode 264, should you sell fewer homes on purpose, from January of this year. That is an episode that I remember, and many more between then and now. There's a lot of episodes right there. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? Well, over the last 5.5 years, over the last 300 episodes, here's some of my takeaways. I just started listing this the other day. Here are my takeaways over the last 300 episodes. I learned that I could become great if I just keep showing up and doing the work. If I just keep doing the thing over and over and over, I get better at the thing. So even though I started as the world's worst podcaster, I am now here as a pretty decent one. Not the world's best. I mean, how do you define that anyways, right? It's like the best agent. What the fuck? What does that even mean? Stupid. But I'm a much better communicator. I'm a much better podcaster. I'm a much better business person. I'm a much better everything than I was 300 episodes ago. I learned that I can become great if I just keep showing up and doing the work. I also learned that there's been very little innovation in podcast technology, like cameras and microphones. And like I use Riverside to record, but okay. Other than that, Apple Podcast hasn't done shit to innovate. It's the same platform. There's like podcast technology is basically the same as it was 6 years ago. That's interesting. So is that an opportunity? I don't know, but maybe there's not a whole lot more that needs to be innovated with podcasting. I don't know. It's just, there's been very little innovation with it. I've also learned that if I was to start over and do a podcast today, I would do a podcast to get the video clips from. I would do a podcast to get social media clips. When I started, I wasn't even recording video. I think I went a year or two without even recording video. I was just getting the audio podcast because I didn't understand the value of putting those clips on social. And social media was very different, almost 6 years ago. But over time, I've learned, wait a minute, the social media clips from the podcast can get so many more views than the podcast ever can. And so now I would create a podcast to get the clips from. And that's kind of how I do it now. If I'm interviewing somebody, I ask certain questions that I know can be taken and clipped and put on social. I think I interview differently now, knowing that I'm trying to create social media clips from the podcast. I just approach it differently. I've also learned everything works and nothing doesn't. Everything works and nothing doesn't. Amazing advice that my very first mentor in real estate gave me 12 years ago. Over 12 years ago now. But everything works and nothing doesn't. Podcasting works. Cold calling works. Door knocking works. Sending out mailers works. Everything works. But if you stop doing it, it's not going to work. If you don't do it, if you don't suck long enough to get good at it, it's not going to work. If you keep bouncing around from one thing to another, nothing's going to work. You also have to figure out what fits your strengths and weaknesses. I learned that I love podcasting. I can do it. Like, this is a medium that just works for me. So great. It's much easier for me to just keep going week after week. Everything works and nothing doesn't. I've learned sometimes luck is a factor. Luck is absolutely a factor. And let's be honest, physically attractive people have an advantage, don't they? If you're physically attractive, your videos are going to do better than someone who's ugly. Right? Sorry. They just are. But you also have an advantage if you're smart. Smart people have an advantage over dumb people, right? People who are fit have an advantage over fat people. You just do. That's the world. I'm sorry. But sometimes luck is a factor too, right? We're judged by our looks. We're judged by the way we sound. We're judged by all these things. And sometimes luck is a factor. Sometimes, like, you just happen to post the right video at the right time and it takes off. Or you happen to talk about a certain topic at a certain time and you become the thought leader for that topic. Sometimes luck is a factor, but it can only be a factor if you're taking action. If you're sitting on your ass, luck can't find you. You have to be taking action to become lucky. So in a way, you create your own luck by moving forward and taking steps one after another, doing and learning and bumbling through and sucking and trying to get better. That's when luck finds you. Luck is absolutely a factor, and you can create it. At least you can give yourself the chance to be lucky by taking action. I've learned we all have strengths and weaknesses. I've learned that building a business should be the goal for every agent. I've spoken about that already today. I've learned that your brokerage matters. It doesn't matter to the client. Not really. It really doesn't. Your brokerage matters to you, the agent. And if you don't think it does, you're with a brokerage that doesn't do shit for you. You're with a brokerage that does not empower you. You're with a brokerage that doesn't provide the platform for you to be an entrepreneur with. Because I used to think, a brokerage, whatever, is just the cheapest one. I was naive. I did not understand what I know today. I wouldn't be able to have the time freedom that I have today if I still had that mindset. Because I've learned that the right brokerage with the right business model and the right people can empower agents to do something very special and impact many, many more people. But if you just think, well, the cheapest one's the best and the brokerage doesn't matter, you're wrong. You're just wrong. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. And lastly, I'm super proud about this. I've learned that you guys, the Massive Agent Podcast audience, you are the best audience in real estate. Possibly, you're the best audience. I don't know how else to say it. Every single guest that's been on the show has said that they just get bombarded with amazing comments and follows, friend requests, messages, comments from you guys, from you, the audience, reaching out to the guest on the show, and they're overwhelmed. I've talked to like some of the bigger name guests that have been on the show who have also been on much bigger podcasts. They're like, there's nothing like the Massive Agent audience. They're so engaged. This is them telling me that you guys, the audience, you're so engaged. You're so gracious. You're always willing to reach out and connect. And I've heard this from dozens and dozens and dozens of guests over the years. That is really cool. That I'm really proud of. And to that, thank you. This is the best audience in real estate for sure. You're just the best audience. I'd put you guys up against anybody. I don't know who has a better audience. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thanks for sticking with us. Thank you for, and when I say us, I've learned to just say us because there's a small team of people that puts the show together. Thanks for sticking with me, for God's sakes. I know that I'm a little rough around the edges. My personality does not attract everyone. It repels some people. I'm also okay with that. I've learned that I'm very okay with that because I attract the right people. And if you're listening and you've been listening to more than one episode, I'm glad that you found us. Glad that you found the show. Thank you so much. I do not take your time lightly. The fact that you listen to the show, that you spend your non-refundable minutes, you spend your valuable time listening to this podcast means a lot to me. I take responsibility for that. I accept responsibility for that. I understand that I have a responsibility, and I'm just so damn grateful that you would spend your time listening to this show. So thank you so much. If I can be helpful, I want to help as many agents escape the prison of production as I possibly can. If you don't know what that looks like, if you need help, go to my Instagram bio, click the link, and there in the link tree, there's something for you. But join our team, join the coaching group, the Massive Agent Society. If you just want to talk, if you just want to shoot me a quick question in a DM, please do so. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Massive Agent. Follow me on YouTube, Massive Agent. And there's a lot more coming from myself and the Massive Agent world over the next little bit. So stay tuned for that. Lots of cool shit that I'm working on. Thank you so much. I'm excited to do this again for episode 400, which is going to be almost 2 years from now. So yeah, 100 episodes. That'll be like September or August of 2025, episode 400. Hope to see you there. Thanks so much, guys.